Let's talk about the Trans Day of Visibility because somehow this turned into a giant controversy for reasons I'm sure most of you are already familiar with. But basically, Sunday, March 31st, was the Transgender Day of Visibility. Is it a real holiday? No, not really. It was started 15 years ago, but obviously it has taken on more significance as trans rights becomes, kind of at the forefront of what a lot of civil rights activists are fighting for. And the only thing you need to know about Trans Day of Visibility for this story is that it is on March 31st. That's it. And Easter, on the other hand, is not on a particular date. Easter falls on some magical, depending on where the sun and the stars are, sort of day. I don't know what the formula is, but Easter changes every year. And this year, those two dates happen to coincide. Is it a coincidence? Yes, of course it is. 100%. It just happens that way. Next year, Easter's going to fall on 420. I think last year was it on April Fool's Day as well. Easter falls when Easter falls. It's on a random day. But this year it came on the Transgender Day of Visibility. And like Joe Biden has done for the past 4 years, he issued a proclamation. Here it is, honoring the Transgender Day of Visibility. Look at the date on this. He put it out on March 29th, so a couple days before Easter. But he says a couple things that I thought are really interesting here. Transgender Americans are part of the fabric of our nation. That's a lovely thing to say. He also pointed out here, I call upon all Americans to join us in lifting up the lives and voices of transgender people throughout our nation and to work toward eliminating violence and discrimination based on gender identity. I mean, good. This is a purely symbolic gesture, but it's a big deal coming from the president of the United States. You're not going to see that sort of thing with a lot of Republicans. You know what I mean? So, I'm glad he did it. And by the way, I also want to point out he issued basically the same kind of proclamation on March 30th, 2023. And then, oh, what's this? He did it on March 30th, 2022. Oh, and what's this? Here's another one on March 31st, 2021. He has put out these proclamations every year for 4 years. This is the fourth one he's done like this. So nothing out of the ordinary has happened. And yet, conservative Christians and their Republican allies saw an opportunity and they took it because they decided that Joe Biden decided by himself to declare March 31st to be the Trans Day of Visibility, specifically to go after Christians who are celebrating Easter. That's how dumb these people are. And if it's not dumb, then it's just cruel because obviously that's not what happened. Here is Donald Trump's national campaign chair, Caroline, National Press Secretary is her title. Here's her campaign. Here's her tweet. We call on Joe Biden's failing campaign in White House to issue an apology to the millions of Catholics and Christians, which, by the way, is a weird thing to say because Catholics are Christians, but Joe Biden's Catholic, so they don't want to put him in the same umbrella as Christians. Issue an apology to the millions of Catholics and Christians across America who believe tomorrow is for one celebration only, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Apparently, you're not allowed to do anything else on Easter Sunday except celebrate Easter. What if you're Muslim? Nope, sorry, better celebrate Easter. Oh, it's your birthday on Easter? I'm sorry, you don't get to celebrate it. Easter Sunday, there's only one thing you're allowed to do, and a symbolic gesture to trans people, not allowed on a Jesus day. And it didn't stop there. Is anyone going to see that tweet? I don't know. But when Speaker of the House Mike Johnson does it, the Biden White House has betrayed the central tenet of Easter, which is the resurrection of Jesus Christ, banning sacred truth and tradition while at the same time proclaiming Easter Sunday as Transgender Day. By the way, why is that in quotation marks? That's not what it is. It's not Transgender Day. It's the Day of Visibility. You're misquoting it in a weird way because that's not the meaning. It's outrageous and abhorrent. The American people are taking note. Again, this idea that you're not allowed to do anything on Easter Sunday except celebrate Easter. And also, it's a coincidence. And why are all you people doing this? Like, seriously, these people are great. And all these people are doing it. These are just other conservatives. The Biden White House has declared Easter Sunday Trans Visibility Day. No, it is Resurrection Day. We will not bow to the new gods of your new religion. The hell are they talking about? Here's another one, Center for Baptist Leadership. We call on POTUS to repent and retract his blasphemous proclamation. Christ is risen, Christ is king, and Christ will return. Whatever. Like, just crazy people. This is another conservative Christian. Just objectively, not even from a Christian perspective, the Democrat Party, that's not what they're called, the Democrat Party is not even trying to disguise the fact that it is a faction and a kind of open war with a very large segment of the American population. So if I have this right, Joe Biden, who is devoutly Catholic, is really mad at Christians. So he finagled the calendar like 4 years ago. He decided that in 2024, he was going to stick it to Christians by issuing a proclamation that carries no legal weight. Like, seriously, are these people dumb or ignorant? Which is it? This is great. This is from Tony Perkins, the conservative Christian Confederacy loving hate group leader. Something about Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Again, it's all Jesus shit, but then, of course, there's a link to the proclamation at the bottom, as if this is what Joe Biden should have said, not the other thing. And then, of course, Franklin Graham, evangelist Franklin Graham. Joe Biden has declared tomorrow, Easter Sunday, as Transgender Day of Visibility, as if Biden made it up. My dude, it's been going on for 15 years. This once again shows how little respect President Biden and his administration have for God. On the most significant day of the Christian calendar, yada, 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 something, something. They use this opportunity to flaunt sin, to glorify sin, and to celebrate sin. And that, my friends, is why Franklin Graham is going to vote for Donald Trump, the man who never sins, apparently. I don't get these people. Instead of, what is the sin that he's mad about? That trans people exist, and that the proclamation says, hey, look, they exist. That is what has these Christians so worked up, and they can't get over it, and they're so mad about it. Like, just the worst people ever. Like, even if Biden picked the date himself, which he did not, the idea that no one else is allowed to do anything else on a Christian holiday except celebrate the Christian holiday is such a cocky, arrogant way to think. Like, guess what? Not everyone celebrates Christmas either. In fact, this Christmas also happens to be the first day of Hanukkah. Can't wait to see all these people go fully anti Semitic at that point. Like, Christians don't get to own December. They don't get to own December 25th. They don't get to own Easter Sunday. If they want to celebrate those days, they can. No one is stopping them. But the rest of us don't have to take your fairy tale seriously. We are not part of your book club. The idea that, oh, you issued a proclamation. How dare you do two things at once? And their followers eat it up because they're not good critical thinkers. They like ignorance. They like being told that these other people are evil. They don't believe Biden is a real Christian anyway. This is a survey. I think I talked about this in a previous show, but this is a recent survey from the Pew Research Center. Check this out. Very few, here we go. Very few Americans see Biden and Trump as very religious. But look at the Republican numbers on that side for Joe Biden. Look at this. When it comes to Republicans here and Joe Biden, how many Republicans think Joe Biden is very religious or somewhat religious? It's 29% only. 69% of Republicans say Joe Biden is either not too religious or not at all religious. That is objectively false. He is like super Catholic. I realize my face is covering up the very number I want you to look at. But yeah, like there it is. 69% of them don't think Biden is religious. So, of course, when he issues the Trans Day of Visibility proclamation on Easter Sunday, they're like, well, see, we told you he's not really religious at all. Just total ignorance here. And honestly, none of the critics have explained one. I have not found it yet how Easter Sunday was ruined by this proclamation. Like, if your Easter Sunday was spoiled because Joe Biden issued a proclamation to recognize trans people, maybe your faith isn't that strong. Maybe you don't really care about this Jesus thing after all. Like, if Biden actually wanted to persecute Christians, which is not a thing he wants to do because he is Christian, why the hell would he do it via a proclamation honoring trans people 2 days before Easter Sunday in a thing no one would have really even noticed? Like, none of this makes sense, even on the bigots' terms. And here's the other thing I did not see. I did not see a lot of prominent conservative Christians calling out all this misinformation. Like, if they're out there, they were very few and far between. Like, admitting the truth, I think, could alienate the diehards, and conservative Christians have shown an incredible lack of courage over the past several years when it comes to calling out their own people, even when reality is staring them in the face. So, where are the pastors who say, stop making a big deal about this? Where are the news anchors on conservative news outlets, conservative outlets saying, yeah, this is BS. This isn't a real story. Let's skip this. And I mean, to their credit, the Biden administration didn't take the bait. This is what they said. This is in Newsweek. But in response to the criticism, White House press secretary, blah, 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 said, as a Christian who celebrates Easter with family, President Biden stands for bringing people together and upholding the dignity and freedoms of every American. Sadly, it's unsurprising politicians are seeking to divide and weaken our country with cruel, hateful, and dishonest rhetoric. President Biden will never abuse his faith for political purposes or for profit, which is a really good statement. And I don't think I saw that being repeated much, so I don't know how much of an effect it has, but it should. Like, it would have been perfectly easy for Joe Biden, who I have a lot of criticism about. It would have been so easy for them not to issue any proclamation at all, especially given how much conservative zealots flip out at any mention of trans people. So I'm glad he did it. And this kind of right-wing response, though, it's predictable. And Joe Biden did this anyway, and he did it forcefully. Like, it may be symbolic, but symbols carry a lot of weight. And I have so much more criticism for these Christian liars because they don't give a shit about the sanctity of their faith, because then they would condemn Trump for a story I'm going to talk about in a second about his Bible. Like, if they actually cared about someone ruining Christianity, it's not Joe Biden for issuing a proclamation about trans people. It's the guy who's using Christianity as a weapon to win an election he probably couldn't win on his own.